Operating effectively and efficiently in today's fast-paced global environment, organizations need to be able to get work done anywhere and at any time. In studio with me to discuss how organizations can use desktop virtualization to bring about this transformation in the work environment, I have Sean Wainer, Country Manager for Citrix Systems South Africa. Sean, welcome.
Natascha, thank you for having me.
Now, with so many technologies today focused on creating a mobile working environment, what is the business case for desktop virtualization?
I think desktop virtualization is the cornerstone of how it works. We're seeing the advent of tablet computers coming in, phones coming in, the ability to work from anywhere on ultrabooks these days. And it's about how you deliver that technology to a user. A remote worker is only as good as the tools that he has available, and if he doesn't have the right tools available, every tool that he needs available to use, he's just not going to be effective at his job.
How does it change the productivity and availability levels of the workforce?
Well, I think productivity's gone up. We've seen a lot of studies. We've done a global work shifting survey that shows productivity's the increase is incredibly high. 50, 70, 60% increase in productivity. If you give users the right tools, give them the ability to work from an exciting place or a place that's more efficient for them to work from, you're going to get an increase in productivity anyway.
And a safety and security perspective?
Well, safety and security from a data perspective is a big thing. We're seeing loss of data becoming a real issue for organizations today. And if you think about the way that desktop virtualization works, your data doesn't reside on the device. The device is completely independent and in actual fact to some point irrelevant. All your data resides in the cloud. You've got your cloud, you're delivering your pixels to your device. All your data sits in a completely secure cloud environment, and if the user loses his device, there's nothing on there. Effectively, it's a dumb terminal.
It also takes out the human element. People are not downloading software onto hardware, viruses.
Yeah, well, you can. What you really want to do is you really want to isolate your user environment from your work environment. So in the bring your own computing model, which is gaining enormous traction in this country and around the world, users bring any device that they want into the country, into the workplace, into the country. The Apple III, the iPad 3 is launched. A lot of people I know are using it. It's their own device. They can do whatever they want on it. They can play games on it. But as soon as they drop into their virtual workspace, that's completely secure and completely isolated.
Let's talk about costs. For businesses, it's all about the bottom line. From a
Yes,
CapEx perspective, what is the viability of desktop virtualization versus the traditional fleet of hardware?
Okay, so desktop virtualization adds quite an interesting aspect to cost. First of all, enormous reduction in your IT hardware cost, your PC replacements. Cycles are a lot lower. People are now replacing PCs every 8 years. Also, bring your own methodology, as well as reducing costs dramatically as well, because users are bringing their own devices. IT doesn't have to control the device. And then, of course, from a costing perspective as well, Citrix has the ability to deliver various methods of virtual desktops, from really low cost to really high power, slightly more expensive solutions as well. So the gamut of technologies available today. Cost reduction it's an enormous topic, and we can talk about it for hours. But one of the big things as well is purely real estate reduction as well. If you have 500 users and 250 of them don't need space anymore, you can reduce half your office costs. There's the green aspect, the green cost of it as well. There's e-tolling we were discussing a little bit earlier outside. The whole cost of e-tolling can reduce as well, because remote workers aren't on the road as much. Petrol costs come down. Office coffee costs come down. It's a big problem in our office. Office coffee costs come down, and cost, it's a really, really enormous topic, but it's one of the biggest drivers for desktop virtualization is cost reduction.
And in terms of the upkeep, when you look at the operating system upgrades, licensing agreements, still less than your desktops?
Well, yeah, if you have a look at the traditional pull that I've always spoken about, and that's the three-way tussle. You've got IT pulling on the one side, you've got finance pulling on the other side, you've got users pulling in the third way. If you find desktop virtualization really tries to work those three together, and from a usability perspective, it allows users, it gives them the freedom and flexibility to do what they want to do, work from where they want to work. It gives IT control, over the infrastructure and control over the technology, and it gives finance a cost-saving mechanism. So it's a three-way win situation, desktop virtualization today.
But speaking of that three-way split, traditionally when you think of anything IT-related, the onus falls on the IT department, but it's management understanding from a top-up and bottom-down perspective, the importance thereof and also the user-friendly availability thereof.
I think from a management, the easiest way that we sell to management today is simply give them their desktop that they need to use on their iPad. And we've got a lot of proofs going out where management just get delivered an iPad and usable. And it's a technology that sells itself. It's a technology that once you start using it, you can't give it back. I refer to it as a puppy dog sale. You know, you give somebody the puppy dog, they're not going to give it back to you. So virtualization is very much like that. I use it every single day. My team use it every day. And when you start using it, it becomes a technology a little bit like using a mobile phone. When was the last time you used a payphone? You know, the idea of not being able to pull out your cell phone and use it is a foreign concept today. And we're going to see desktop virtualization becoming so mainstream that people are just going to need to, it's just going to be a technology that you use.
But at the moment it's very mainstream in developed nations, the Eurozone, the Americas, and more developing nations like India, Russia, and Brazil to an extent. But what about Africa? How viable is it on the continent at the moment?
It's actually incredibly viable. I think we have interesting challenges. We have vast distances. We've got travel issues, especially going up into the continent as well. Security issues, you know, traveling around, it addresses all of those as well. Bandwidth is sometimes considered a constraint as well around that, but we're seeing that becoming less of a problem. We're seeing bandwidth opening up. We're seeing the wax cable opening up soon across the west coast of Africa, I think it is. We've got CCOM doing really well. We're getting Africa getting a lot of bandwidth. In actual fact, I was discussing with somebody the other day that Kenya actually has a glut of bandwidth, which is unusual. In South Africa, we're pretty good. I mean, I was using desktop virtual solution on a drive to the airport on my mobile phone, and I was online the entire time. On a drive to the airport, a drive back all the way. So it was a good probably 50, 60 kilometer round trip, online all the time, no downtime. Becoming less of a problem, and I think Africa's really a perfect situation for desktop virtualization. Costs are becoming a problem here; it addresses those. You know, access to information is becoming a problem here; it addresses those. As well as you know, we're trying to attract and retain the best talent in the world. Desktop virtualization gives users a real exciting feel of using any technology they want and using leading edge technologies to do their work.
Before we go, touching on talent and management of the system, skills deficit on the continent when it comes to IT, quite problematic. How is desktop virtualization going to make that not a concern when we don't have the skills at the moment to keep those systems up and running and even design in-house systems?
Yeah, I think what the change that's happened is I'm seeing it certainly, is that we're moving towards the world of micro apps. You know, we're seeing the Android market, the Apple market delivering micro apps today, and I think that people are less interested in opening up, as they say in America, opening up the hood and getting underneath, changing RAM, changing technology. They want a device, they want the device to work, and desktop virtualization simplifies it. Yes, certainly we're requiring a deeper skill set to control it. So we're requiring, you know, virtualization knowledge, database knowledge, all the ability to build the apps. But it is an entrepreneurial way of doing things by delivering apps. There's organizations that are app delivery specialists that are allowing us to do really clever things with technology. You know, there's things like Waze. You know, if people haven't used an interesting GPS, kind of self-learning GPS technology that was developed, you know, by an entrepreneur, we're seeing that happening. So it's yes, it does require a slightly bigger skill set, but because it's a new technology, because it's an exciting technology, there's a path. People are training to that, and certainly something we're looking to do is to grow that skills base as well in country and in continent.
Well, we look forward to watching your progress. Sean Wainer, thank you very much.
Thank you.